Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we're taking some pretty complex financial systems and translating them into plain English. Think of it like, well, discovering the hidden mechanics of a video game that everyone is literally forced to play. But here's the kicker. Nobody ever handed you the rulebook. We're going to break down the invisible systems that quietly drain your wealth, and more importantly, the historical cheat codes people use to protect it. It's all about finally understanding the rules so you don't have to play at a disadvantage anymore. So, I want to kick things off by completely shattering one of the biggest financial illusions out there. When you deposit your money into a bank, do you actually still own it? See, most of us grew up thinking a bank is basically like a personal locker. You drop your cash off, they tuck it away in a safe little cubby with your name on it, and it just waits there for you to come pick it up, right? Well, legally speaking, that is completely false. Yeah, the harsh reality of contract law is pretty simple. No, you don't. Legally, the moment you hand your money over, you become what's called an unsecured creditor. In 10th grade English, you literally just gave the bank a loan. The second your cash crosses that counter, it is no longer your property. You traded your actual money for a promise, basically just a digital number on a screen. And if that bank goes bust, you are literally standing at the very back of the line to get any of that cash back. Now, what's really fascinating is why the system works this way. Take a look at this idea. The institutions built to collect your money are the exact same ones that know you don't actually need to pay them, but they have literally zero financial reason to tell you that. This isn't some crazy, shadowy conspiracy, It's just basic incentives. They have no reason to teach you the cheat codes. Recognizing that fact is step one to taking back control of your own money game. And this brings us to a really important concept: cost friction. I want you to think of this as the silent, invisible drain on your wealth. It doesn't scream at you like a bounced check or a past due notice. It's way sneakier. It's like paying for a streaming subscription you haven't watched in 3 years, but on a massive, massive scale. You are slowly losing points in the game just because you don't know the rules. And frankly, no one is rushing in to help you. So let's stop the bleeding. We're going to switch to playing defense and look at 5 specific sneaky wealth drains. These are leaks that seniors, especially, are quietly overpaying on right this second. These are real legal exemptions that exist today, but you have to actually stand up and claim them yourself, because the government definitely isn't going to do it for you. Let's look at the first leak. All right, look at this number, $6,000. For the tax years 2025 through 2028, there's this temporary thing called the senior bonus deduction. It gives every American 65 or older an extra deduction up to $6,000 or $12,000 if you're a married couple. For a lot of folks, this acts like a giant financial eraser, completely wiping their federal tax bill down to zero. But here's the catch. You have to actively claim it before it disappears after 2028. It's use it or lose it. Next up is the W-4V form. A lot of retirees will check a box to have taxes withheld from their Social Security checks thinking, hey, I'm just playing it safe. But listen to this. Depending on what the IRS calls your provisional income, which is just the specific portion they actually count, your benefits might not even be taxable in the first place. By over-withholding, you are voluntarily giving the federal government a monthly interest-free loan with your own money. Filing an updated W-4V form stops that drain immediately. Okay, moving on to property taxes. The big takeaway here is that property taxes do not have to crush you in retirement. There are 3 powerful tools you should know about. First, circuit breakers. These act like a safety switch that caps your taxes if you're on a fixed income. Second, flat exemptions, which literally just reduce your home's taxable value because you hit a certain age. And third, age-based freezes. These lock in your school tax rate the year you turn 65, no matter how crazy the housing market gets. And the best part, a lot of those freezes don't even have income limits. Now let's talk Medicare Part A. This is the part that covers hospital stays, and it is supposed to be 100% free for any American who's paid Medicare taxes for 40 quarters. That's just 10 years of work. But get this, simple, ridiculous record-keeping errors like a glitch in a spouse's work history or confusing self-employment records cause tons of seniors to overpay hundreds of dollars every month for a benefit they literally already earned. And Medicare actually provides a perfect example of how the system works against you on autopilot. See, Medicare calculates your Part B and D surcharges based on your tax return from 2 years ago. So if you recently retired and your income naturally went down, Medicare is probably still overcharging you based on your old working year salary. The fix? It's called the SSA 44 Life-Changing Event Form. You file that and they recalculate your premium based on your actual current income. Simple. Our last leak paying retail storefronts to do your taxes. Believe it or not, Congress actually funds a program called Tax Counseling for the Elderly, or TCE. It gives completely free IRS-certified tax prep for anyone 60 or older. The biggest provider of this is AARP TaxAid. But here is the absolute best-kept secret. You do not even need to be an AARP member to use it. It is legally free, highly specialized help just sitting there waiting for you. Okay, we've plugged the personal leaks. Now let's zoom out and look at the whole macro game board. Think back to 1929. A farmer named Harold goes to his bank to pull out $80 for harvest supplies, only to find the doors padlocked forever. He did everything right, but the system totally failed him. And if you're thinking, well, that's ancient history, just look at the 2008 crash. Or look at Silicon Valley Bank collapsing in literally 48 hours in 2023. Guys, financial history is just a repeating loop. And the engine driving that repeating loop? It's called fractional reserve banking. When you deposit $1,000, the bank doesn't put it in a vault. They keep a tiny fraction, maybe just 10%, and lend the rest out to other people in the economy. Imagine taking a single pizza, cutting it into slices, and then promising the entire pie to 10 different people at the exact same time. Your one deposit gets stretched and multiplied into this massive, fragile web of debts. Which really highlights the terrifying difference between access and ownership. When you swipe your debit card for groceries, it creates the super convincing illusion that you own that money. But in reality, access is just a privilege the bank lets you have during normal sunny days. Ownership is a hard legal right that protects you during a storm. And like we talked about earlier, as an unsecured creditor, true ownership is the one thing you absolutely do not have in a panic. And that brings us to this massive shock factor number, 1.1%. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. Try to guess what that represents. I can absolutely guarantee you this is not a number you'll ever see on those friendly, smiling posters at your local bank branch. That 1.1%, that is the actual ratio of the FDIC's insurance fund compared to the total insured deposits in the American banking system. As of 2023, the FDIC had roughly $116 billion on hand to cover over $10 trillion in deposits. Think about that math. The FDIC was never actually designed to be a mathematical safety net if the whole system fails. It was created back in 1933 as a psychological trick. It's there to make you feel safe so you don't panic and start a bank run. So what's the takeaway here? You simply cannot blindly rely on the system to save you. It is time to play offense. Throughout history, wealthy individuals have used specific cheat codes to keep their wealth safe outside of this super fragile banking architecture. We're going to walk through 4 structural, 100% legal ways you can fortify your own financial position. Strategy number 1, U.S. Treasuries. When you buy Treasury bills or bonds directly from the government, using a site like treasurydirect.gov, you are completely bypassing the private banking system. You aren't trusting a fractional reserve bank at all. You're lending straight to the U.S. government. Fun fact, back in 1929, the folks who held government bonds survived the crash completely untouched, even while banks were literally collapsing around them. Strategy number 2 is physical precious metals like gold. Look, gold basically has mathematical immunity to digital banking crises because it exists in physical reality. A failing bank can't freeze it, they can't erase it, it's just there. Now, to be totally transparent, there is a historical asterisk here. In 1933, the U.S. government literally made it illegal for regular citizens to own gold bullion and force them to hand it over. So it's a strong play, but you have to go into it with your eyes wide open. Number 3, real assets. We're talking about land, real estate, tangible goods, stuff that actually produces shelter or food or energy. If a bank fails over the weekend, or if inflation goes crazy, physical land cannot be digitally seized or wiped out by a computer glitch. Real assets hold their intrinsic value and their usefulness, regardless of whatever the currency happens to be doing that day. And our final strategy is geographic diversification. That sounds fancy, but it just means having legal, regulated accounts in other countries, like Switzerland or Singapore. It's basically making sure that one bad law or one collapsing banking system in a single country doesn't suddenly trap every single dollar you own. It's not just for billionaires. It's a totally straightforward, necessary strategy to keep your options open when things go wrong locally. So, there you have it. You now have the blueprint. You understand the cost friction that's secretly draining your wealth, and you see the underlying fragility of the banking system we all use. History proves over and over that financial crises do not send you a 30-day warning letter in the mail. So the only question that really matters is this: You now know the hidden rules. What are you going to do while the doors are still open?